All right, let's talk about the one system in your house you probably never think about. That is, until it suddenly quits on you. Today, we are going to pull back the curtain on the world of home heating and air conditioning. Think of this as your personal survival guide for when things inevitably go wrong.
Just imagine this for a second. It is the coldest night of the year. The temperature is absolutely plummeting. And then, nothing. Just silence. That comforting hum from your furnace is just gone. It's that pit in your stomach feeling every homeowner knows and dreads. That single point of failure can turn your cozy home into a freezer in just a few hours.
And you know, that's because your HVAC system, that's your heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, it really is the unsung hero of your house. Day in and day out, it's in a constant battle with the heat, the cold, the humidity, all to keep you comfortable. So understanding it isn't just about fixing it when it breaks, it's about protecting one of the most essential functions of your home.
So, to really get why these systems fail, we've got to look at their biggest enemy, the world right outside your front door. Your local climate puts a relentless, punishing strain on all that equipment.
12 to 15 years. That's it. That is the typical lifespan for an HVAC system in a place with a demanding climate, like St. Louis. And you might be asking, why so short? Well, it's because, in places with wild weather swings, these machines practically never get a day off. I mean, let's just compare for a second. If you live in a really mild climate, your system might kick on for a few hours a day. No big deal. But in a place with extreme seasons, it is a completely different ballgame. We're talking about that suffocating summer humidity that makes the AC run nonstop, followed by winters with freezing rain that push your furnace to its absolute limit right when you need it most. These 60-degree temperature swings put an unbelievable amount of stress on every single part.
And all that stress? Well, it eventually leads to breakdowns. But knowing what to look for can turn that moment of panic into a clear plan of action. So let's run through a quick diagnostic checklist to help you figure out what might be going on.
Think of this as like a decoder ring for your house's weird noises and behaviors. For example, if you're suddenly seeing crazy high energy bills, it might not be the utility company's fault. It could actually be leaky ducts just pouring all your expensive conditioned air right into the attic. Or what if your furnace is running but it's just blowing cold air? Well, that often points to a really simple but critical part, a failed igniter. Recognizing these little patterns is your first step to getting a fast fix.
Okay, so you figured out you have a problem and you need to call a pro. I know, this part can be pretty stressful, but it really doesn't have to be. Let's walk through an insider's playbook for what a professional, totally trustworthy service call should actually look like.
You know, there are some really clear signs that you're dealing with a quality company. A real pro is going to show up in a marked vehicle. And this is crucial. They will give you a clear, written estimate before they start any work, no surprises. They should also be able to explain the problem in plain English, not a bunch of confusing jargon. Even little things like putting on shoe covers to protect your floor show respect for you and your home. The whole visit should feel really predictable and straightforward. It really just boils down to 3 simple steps. First, the technician does a thorough diagnosis and gives you that clear estimate we talked about. Second, once you give the okay, they do the expert repair. And finally, they test the whole system through a full cycle to make sure the fix actually worked. Diagnosis, repair, and verification. That is it.
Now, sooner or later, every single homeowner gets hit with the biggest, most expensive question of them all. Is it worth it to keep pouring money into fixing this old system, or is it finally time to just replace the whole thing? Turns out there's a pretty simple rule of thumb that can help you decide.
Yep, this is that moment. You're trying to weigh a big repair bill against an even bigger replacement cost. It totally feels like a gamble, doesn't it? But what if I told you there's a simple formula you can use to make a really smart financial decision? It is called the $5,000 rule, and it's a surprisingly powerful little piece of math. All you have to do is take the age of your system in years and multiply it by the repair cost you were just quoted.
So let's run through a quick example. Let's say your system is 12 years old, right in that 12 to 15-year danger zone. A technician tells you it's going to be a $500 repair. So you multiply 12 years by $500 and you get $6,000. Since that number is more than $5,000, the rule is signaling that replacement is probably the smarter financial move here.
So, why does this simple math work so well? Well, the formula isn't just about this one repair. It's actually a way of looking into the future. It basically accounts for the high probability that an older system is just going to have more breakdowns soon. And it also factors in the big energy savings you're going to get from a brand new, more efficient unit. It's all about helping you avoid throwing good money after bad. Okay, so pretty much everything we've talked about so far has been reactive, what to do when something breaks. Let's wrap up by shifting gears into a proactive mindset. Here is a simple checklist to help you protect your system and hopefully prevent those middle-of-the-night emergency calls from ever happening.
Look, these are the basics, but trust me, they make a massive difference. Change your air filters regularly. A clogged filter is literally choking your system. Schedule seasonal tune-ups, one for your furnace before winter, one for your AC before summer, to catch small problems before they become huge, expensive ones. And of course, keep that outdoor unit clear of any junk or debris.
And that brings us to one last super easy rule to remember, the 2-foot rule. Your outdoor AC unit needs room to breathe. You have to make sure there are at least 2 feet of clear space all the way around it. That means you gotta trim back the bushes, rake the leaves away, and clear the snow off it. If the airflow is blocked, your system has to work way harder, which drives up your bills and shortens its life. It's that simple.
So the big takeaway here is that you have way more power in this situation than you probably think. Being proactive is your absolute best defense against a catastrophic system failure. So whether it's setting a reminder to order new filters or just stepping outside to check the clearance around your unit, what's the one small thing you are going to do this week to be a smarter, more prepared homeowner?